So now it's working. Okay, I guess we're live. Welcome everyone. Actually, we are already here sitting with Mr. Kulen here. It's just I forgot to click one button, go live. I stream, but I didn't go live. But well, welcome everyone. There's already a couple of people that is waiting here, so thank you for that. Because we're kind of short on time here, we're just gonna get started. Um, so this is today's agenda. We have a general topic discussion between 7 to 7:20. And the topics that we're going to discuss already listed it in the webinar website when I give it to everyone, right? And I'm going to show you again here. Between 7:20 to 7:30, we're going to answer some of the chosen submitted questions from the audience. So when I announced the webinar last week, there's already a lot of people who submit questions, and of course I cannot answer every single questions in this short time. So I chose the one that I think it's important. And a lot of those questions actually already answered it in the video that I released last week related to visa. So you want to check that out, you can go to my channel. I will also try to add it in the link down description below. I haven't done that, but I will do that after this. And then for the next 30 minutes, we're going to do live Q&A. All right. Now, a couple of things here. You can check the link down the description below. I have USMLE test taking strategies, which help you with the 50-50, how to approach USMLE question and time management strategies, so you will not run out of time when you do the exam. And then I have USCE Essentials, which tells you everything about USCE. What is USCE? Where to get it? I have 30 plus list hospital that offer rotations for non-US IMG, so you can check that out. And finally, if you're interested to learn from me, to do rotation with me, you can also check the link down in the description below to watch the video. It will explain everything how you can do rotation with me. I focus on communication and interpersonal skills. I help IMG learn healthcare system, and also have IMG to learn EMR, so you can review chart in the most accurate and efficient way. With that, I welcome our speaker today, Mr. Remzi Kulen. Can you please introduce yourself?
Yes, good morning, Julius.
Good morning.
My name is Remzi Kulen. I'm an immigration lawyer. I have an office immigration law firm in New York. I've been in this type of business for more than 20 years. I've become a lawyer 25 years ago, but at the same time, I've done a few other things before doing immigration laws, like corporate law. I've found myself in immigration law. I've realized that this is the best type of practice for me. I can be helpful to a lot of people. So that's what I've been doing exclusively for the last 21, 22 years. What we do is we help individuals and companies with their immigration matters. Over the years, we've helped many doctors, artists, physicians become US citizens, green card holders. We help them with their visa applications. So when I met you, our areas kind of intersected, and we clicked immediately because you're trying to help on a different aspect as well. So I was very happy to accept your invitation and join today's program. Hopefully it will be very good for your followers.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today. So, without further ado, let's just get started. This is our topic discussions today, and we're gonna have Mr. Cullen to answer one by one, and then we're gonna have the discussions here as well. Okay. So, first question is related to the J1 updated skill list. So, back in December, I think December 9, I might be mistaken in the date, but December 2024, there is a change in the skill list. How do you think this will affect the international medical graduates? Is this a good sign, bad sign, or what do you think is happening here?
The J1 skills list require some of the profession holders to go back to their countries after the J1 is finished. So it's a way of a lot of countries retaining talent in their own country. So if you learn something in the US, why don't you come back and apply it here at home? That's what it is for the J1 skills list. I think removal of those 37 countries from the skills list will be a great exposure for the US, because if people come to the US and they train in the US and now they can stay in the US afterwards, that's a great option. So I think it would increase the chances of people coming here and staying here longer because you don't have to go back.
Right.
Now, there's another aspect of it, because when there's a 2-year foreign residency requirement, the consulates are usually eager to issue you the visa because they know you're gonna go back. Now, if you are not gonna go back, are the consulates still going to issue the J1 visas is another question because the ties to your home country kind of decreases. I've never seen the application of this, so maybe it's not going to affect anybody at all, but there's also that aspect of it. But in general, I think it's a very good thing that these countries are removed
I
from the
see.
skills list for the US.
I see. I guess a lot of specific thing that the audience really want to know, if they go to residence, does this affect people who goes to residency? Because there is an exception. We like to actually
Yeah,
clarify that. Yeah,
unfortunately, no, because
that's what I thought. Mm.
the medical residency is a separate category in the J1. So
Yeah,
you can be subject to J1 skills. You can be subject to 2-year foreign residency requirement under different scenarios. J1 skills list is one of them. The other one is for medical graduates, so IMGs. If you come to the US for a residency program, no matter where you are from, you're still subject. So that doesn't change anything. So if you are coming here as a physician, then the skills list will not work for you. There are still other available waiver options, such as hardship waiver, persecution waiver. So if you are qualified for one of them, you can get into it. There's a Conrad program where you served for 2 years in an underserved area in the United States.
right.
So if you have a U.S. citizen spouse, you do the hardship waiver. If you think that you are not going to be protected when you go back home based on one of the 5 protected bases, then you can file for a persecution waiver. I mean, we've done these waivers in the past for medical graduates. If you have the basis for it, if you're eligible for it, then you can get a
I
waiver,
see.
but not through the skills list.
I see. That is very, very interesting point here, because you actually mentioned that if you have the J1 and you're subjected to the 2-year home, actually might be it becomes a very strong ties. So probably it's a better way to actually get uh, get to the US, knowing that you're subjected. But if you have a
Yeah.
clear way for waiver, actually you can have a
It
better
it it
chance.
is a comforting idea for the officer, for the
Right.
visa issuing officer, knowing
That's
that you're
true.
gonna come back, you have the 2-year foreign residence requirement. So the J1
Mm.
visa, the J1 2-year home residence requirement is always a two-way street. Yes, it is. It makes it difficult for you to stay here, but at the
That's
same time, it makes the consular officer's job easy to give you the visa, to issue you the visa.
I see. So that's why I don't want to get out of track here to tell you this personal story, but I think I see what you mean. I remember when I was in the embassy, I showed the letter, and then they will they actually
Yeah.
approve it immediately. So that's what it was. Okay, thank you for
Yes.
clarifying that.
Uh-huh.
And there's
Yeah.
this explanation that I did in my video, which I'm not really sure it's correct. J1 research scholar. A lot of
Yep.
IMG wants to come to US as a research fellow, so and they accepted as J1 research fellow. Now,
That's amazing.
because if this is it's not very common, but it happens now. Is Will this be subjected to the 2-year home requirement, or they're gonna be a part of the updated skill list because they're
Yeah.
not a graduate medical. I'm not really sure if
So
they're graduate medical education actually.
let's talk about that. So there's a lot of J1 researchers in the United States in the medical field.
Yes.
So unless they come here as a physician, then theoretically there's a possibility that they are not subject. Especially if you are on the J1 Skills program, you
Mm.
may not be subject. Also, if you have not obtained any funding from your own government or from the US government or by any institution which receives funding from the US government, then you may not be subject. As you see, there's a lot of layers. But let's say you're a researcher, you came with the invitation of the school. The school is giving you a scholarship.
Yeah.
They are not getting any payments from the U.S. government. You are not getting any payments from from your government,
Yeah.
and you're not on the skills list. It's one of the
Yeah.
countries
Yeah.
that is not in the skills list.
Yeah.
Well, that's great because you're not subject. So we have to see all of these layers,
Yes.
and then if we can get through all of these layers, then you're not subject. One other thing that I want to talk about J1 waiver is there is a process called advisory opinion. If you are not sure whether you're subject or not, you can always request an advisory opinion from the Department of State. And the reason for that is sometimes what says in your passport is wrong. What says in your J1 form DS 2019 is wrong because they annotate those things with always with wrong things. There are a lot of mistakes. You cannot be sure if this passport or the J1 form is correct.
I
I had a
see.
client where he thought he was not subject. We had asked for an advisory opinion. He was subject. So advisory opinion is the ultimate way of knowing whether you're subject to your foreign residency requirement or not.
Got it. Got it. Well, I didn't even know that exists. That is very, very useful.
And it's
Okay.
free. It's
And it's
free.
free.
We do it all the
Oh,
time.
that's
Yes.
amazing. Okay. Well, I think it's time to move on to the next question because we have a couple of questions here. Are there any expected changes to the visa under Trump administration, especially for IMG? Like maybe the main thing is H1B and J1, but maybe anything that you think that's so important for us to know during this new administration for IMG related to the visa.
Not specifically related to this, but in the first Trump administration, we had a lot of difficulty with the H-1B visa program, but not for qualified, obviously specialty occupation positions. So doctors were not one of them,
Doctors.
you know.
Okay. Very good.
Right. For
That's
example, IT specialist, yes, but
yeah.
doctors,
Yeah.
no. Lawyers, no. So I don't think there are any changes
But
to H-1B program. For J1, the skills list is the basic main change.
yeah.
Some doctors use the O1 program. So O1 has become has been scrutinized lately under the Biden administration, also maybe under Trump administration. If you look at Trump's wording of the visa situation, he wants the best and the brightest, and that's kind of O1 extraordinary ability.
Right.
So supposedly and theoretically, there shouldn't be a problem with the O1 visa, and the
Yeah.
increased interest on the STEM fields on the O1 visa, how to apply under a STEM program for an O1 visa, that actually increases the chances of the foreign medical graduates under the O1 program. So all in all, Trump policies may affect little how to get the visas. On the other hand, if you talk about processing times, that's a different story because under Trump, there's going to be a lot of increased vetting while giving the visas. The processing times will be, I think, increased because of these additional procedures. And there may be a lot of other added parts where there's an investigation on you,
Right.
there's an administrative processing
Right.
on you. So
Processing
processing
longer.
times may increase, but the overall visa application
Qualification.
scheme and qualifications, I don't think would change.
Good. That is pretty much goes with what I expected. The next question: what's the best strategy to increase chance of getting B1, B2 visa approval? Now, this is a lot of problem with a lot of the audience. I actually even a specific audience in the LinkedIn because their B1, B2 visa keep getting rejected. I always tell my audience, just to save time, that the best chance is if you're able to prove strong ties to your country. And if you have enough money, of course, showing enough bank account, those are really the main thing. Maybe you can add something to that if that's true, or if my opinion is true, or what do you think about?
When you apply for a tourist visa,
Yeah,
the officer thinks that you're an immigrant. That's what they should think about. That's the law.
yeah,
They think that you're gonna come to the US and not go back. You have
yeah,
to prove otherwise.
yeah.
Most of the time, you have about 10 seconds to 2 minutes to
Proof.
explain that you're gonna go back to
Yeah,
your home country. So, how you present yourself, how you present why you want to be in the US, and how you actually act at the consulate is more important than anything else. It's more important than documents. It's more important than what you wrote on the DS-160 form. It's the appearance. It's
You have to give a vibe of that you're
portfolio.
technical.
Yeah, your own portfolio, right? So you have to be very precise. You have to know what you're doing. For example, if you have never traveled outside of your country, but you want to go to US to Disney World, that doesn't look very nice. So you can always prepare for the B1, B2 visa. Make sure you travel to other countries. Make sure you have other visas in your passport. Make sure you have a job. Make sure you have included your salary properly on the DS-160 form. Make sure you can present your ties to your home country. I think the reason the B1, B2s get rejected the most is people cannot explain why they want to be in the US. So if there's a good reason for you to be in the US and you can explain it and you can actually answer the questions properly, very short answers to the point, your chances are going to be increased. By the way, I have a YouTube channel that I have about 60,000 followers. I've been doing this for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Last week I opened the English channel and we
Nice.
started uploading English videos to that channel. So one of the topics will be how to increase your chances on B1 and B2 visa in the upcoming
That's
days and
amazing.
weeks. So yeah, so if people can,
Yeah.
well, I'm going to talk about J1s, I'm going to talk about green cards, H1s, everything. But if people can follow us on the YouTube,
Yeah.
then that would be great.
That's amazing. Yeah. So people, I think you will benefit a lot from this. I will get the information from Mr. Kulen here. But the link, the YouTube link, and etc. Actually, I already put some of the Instagram things that I can get from his website. But we will put the YouTube channel as well, so you guys can learn more about this. Very
Yeah,
good.
it goes with Kulen Law Immigration. That's the handle. Kulen Law.
Kulen Law Immigration. I will put the
Yeah.
handle there. Okay. Very good.
Yes.
Okay. Let's move on to the next question. Now, this is actually related to B1, B2 visa. Now, I need to explain to you a little bit, Mr. Cullen, related to Step 3 or clinical rotation. So, usually Step 3 is basically a board exam that you have to take, but you can only take it in the US. You cannot take it in your home country. Okay. So, that can be one reason that the IMG can present to the embassy saying that, oh, I need to take my USMLE Step 3. That's why I want to go to the US. Or is it better, okay, if we say that I'm going for clinical rotations and here is my letter of invitation to the US? Which one do you think is the stronger reason or giving the best chance of approval?
I've come across with medical graduates who actually said during the interview that they want to take the USMLE
Yeah.
and they were issued visas. I haven't met with anyone who said they're on a rotation and they want to get a visa. I think consulate officers understand that medical graduates may want to get the USMLE in the US, and it doesn't indicate that in this specific visit that they're going to stay in the US. So I think, of course, you cannot lie to the consular officer and you have to explain your reason why you want to be here. If it's the rotation, it's the rotation. If it's the exam, it's the exam.
Correct.
But I think the exam has a better chance since it is obvious that you don't want to stay in the US, you just want to take the exam and go back. So, but that is my own experience and that my own observation. I'm not talking anything statistically. So
I see. Yeah. Because I think a lot of medical graduates were wondering if I take USMLE for sure, I want to go for training in the US,
yeah.
and go to the US. So we worry about giving that impression, I guess. Now, I guess for a follow-up question, very quick, if about the clinical rotations, typically we receive an invitation, for example, from Cleveland Clinic or hospital. So we applied first to internet, and then they accept us to do rotations. And then typically we receive a letter from this academic center. Now, if the letter in the academic center stating that we accept Dr. whoever here, Mohammed Omar, to rotate in our program to do observership, And also mentioned in the letter that he will surely gonna come back home after the rotations is finished. Would that be stronger actually? Because in step 3 there is no letter.
So this is kind of a volunteer program at the institution
Yeah.
where you would come, you would not be paid,
Correct.
and then you would complete it and go back.
Correct.
I would say yes, because um, generally the B1 B2 program is good for observation.
Right.
So if you are going to observe and you're not going to be paid
Yeah.
by the U.S. government,
Yeah.
or I'm sorry, by the U.S. institution,
Yes.
it is generally a good idea to apply for it. But like I said, if the consulate thinks that aside from this, that you have no ties with your home country, or if it's not believable, or you're not eligible to get the B1, B2 visa otherwise, the letter alone will not help you.
I see.
You have to be able to get the B1, B2, and then that letter helps you to understand for the consular officer that you're going for this specific program. It's a wonderful opportunity. It would be great for you to go, and they would understand your reason for going. So that it helps you in that sense.
Very good. Okay, because our time, we'll move on to the next question. What are we can probably just mention without anything specific here of like all the details. It's just give us what are the path to green card for IMG in general.
There's usually three ways.
Yeah.
Probably the most common is when the organization you're working for, it's the clinic, it's the hospital, it's the medical institution, applies for a perm application for you. It's
Yeah.
employment-based green card application.
Yes.
This is the most common version, and it takes about 3 to 4 years right now to complete all the steps, and it's long, but as long as you have a non-immigrant visa like J1 or H1, then it should be okay. I mean, as long as you have that, you can continue working, and one day you're going to get the green card.
Yeah.
The other option that we do a lot is the national interest waiver program.
Yeah.
Where you can sponsor yourself. You don't have to have a sponsoring company.
Yeah.
And basically what you're saying is, I'm really good at what I do. It has national importance for the US, and my future endeavor in the US supports what I did and the national importance. So I'm important for the US interests. Well, actually, not I am, but what I do is important for the US
Yeah.
interests.
Yeah.
This is an application. It's called self-sponsored application, and we do this a lot. The last one is EB1, which is extraordinary ability.
Right.
Extraordinary ability is more difficult, I would say, because it has certain criteria that you need to meet. They have certain criteria, you need to meet 3 of them, and you also have to show that you are going to be doing what you did up until now in the United States. So it's a little more difficult. You have to be really famous at what you do. You have to be known in the
Right.
field. So it's
Right.
usually not a good idea for a recent graduate, but NIW is not like that. You don't have to prove that you're famous.
Is that EB2? Is that the same as EB2?
Yes, EB2.
Okay.
The
NIW.
categories are EB1 extraordinary ability and then EB2 national interest waiver. EB stands for employment based. So those are the
Employment-based.
categories. Yes.
I see. Okay. All right. Cool. Move on to the next question here. This is the question that I asked you when I first called you. Can individuals on any of these visa run YouTube channel? B1 BG. And monetize it. Run and monetize.
This is a very delicate matter because it didn't exist when they wrote these immigration laws.
Right.
40, 50 years ago. And the most important thing to understand in the US visa program is if your visa doesn't allow you to work in the United States, that means not only the monetary gain from the US, it means the monetary gain from anywhere in the world. So, for example, I have an influencer client. She makes all of her money from YouTube and from the social media and from the collaborations that she made. And she was here on a tourist visa. And I looked at your profile while we were doing the initial consultation, and I said, are you still doing the
YouTube.
influencer thing in the US on a tourist visa?" She said, "I've just arrived. I didn't do anything." And I said, "Well, you better don't, because that's kind of against the laws of the United States, because if you're here on a tourist visa, you cannot work. That means you cannot work in the US for a US company, or you cannot work while in the US unless you have work authorization. That includes the foreign country." So this is the straight reading of the regulations. Now, everybody works somewhere. For example, when I went to Europe for my immigration lawyers conference, I was working there for 2 days from my hotel room, right, in the
Right.
conference. So
Yeah.
that's kind of understandable, because you're doing it a few days and
Yeah.
you're not there to make money. It's just a temporary stay and you're doing what you're supposed to do.
Yes.
But if you do this on a regular basis constantly and you start making money, that's kind of against the immigration laws.
Right.
So we are always hesitant about that. We advise to be very cautious, and just make sure if you're doing it, you're doing it for a few days, temporary, going back. But if you're staying in the US, if you are here long time and you're making money out of this, that might be a problem.
Got it. Okay. Very quick question. J2 can get an EAD. If a J2
Yes.
get an EAD,
By the
right?
way, my answer to J2 is yes, because J2 gets an EAD, and she or he can do anything they want, right? So it's okay to make money
Right.
on
That's what I
YouTube.
thought. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Very good. Yeah. Yeah. Good.
Oh,
Good.
that's
Good.
that's what you were gonna ask. Okay.
That's
Yeah, yeah,
also
yeah.
that's also a specific question. That was the question. First question is like, can you
Right.
run? And you
Also,
answer it.
H4 EADs, for example,
H4
J2
EAD.
EADs.
Yes. J2 EAD.
These, yes, because they
Yes.
can work anywhere. Yes.
Definitely. Yeah. Okay. Very good. So this is a chosen question from the audience, but we already have arrived in 7:30. So I would like to have a very quick question on the chosen question here. I think this one is quite important. As you can see the question, I have seen many asking to volunteer with free clinics when they're doing their observership for building connection. It has had no issue in the past, but with recent change of administration, I'm worried that volunteering allowed in B1, B2 visa. Some say yes, some say no. Can you do medical volunteering on B1, B2 visa?
This is very regular, and I had a client
Yeah.
uh, years ago. I think about maybe 3, 4 years ago, where she did the observership, and then it wasn't enough for her, and she asked if she can continue doing it for
Right.
another 6 months. And the
Yeah.
institution said, "Yeah, we don't have a problem. Just show us that you can
Yeah.
stay in the US properly, because we're not paying you.
Yeah.
As long as you are
Yeah.
here in the US on a proper visa, yes." So we asked for an extension for 6 months from USCI, saying that she wants to continue her observation program at the institution. It was approved within, I don't know, 1 or 2 months, and she was able to
Oh,
complete her observation. So immigration has this kind of uh, belief, trust in the system, that if it's the institution, they know what they're doing, because it's a medical institution. They usually have an HR. They know what immigration is about,
okay.
right? So if they think USS thinks that they know what they're doing, and if they think that this person who's applying is not working for them, they regularly grant the extensions. I don't think it's going to change under Trump administration. Don't forget, this is an area, this is a field that you want people in, because these
Right.
people are very qualified.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's true. Okay. The next question. Now, this is very interesting, actually. She said she's a Sudanese medical graduate, past step 1, residing in Egypt, seeking to apply B1, B2 to the US, but there's an ongoing conflict in Sudan. Then obtaining the visa is challenging. Many of friends have been denied. Any advice to improve the chance to get the visa? Or should I try to get the visa from European country instead? Or it's better to apply for a J1 visa through research opportunities?
This is a difficult situation, because
Yes,
don't forget, on the tourist visa, you have to prove that you're going to go back to your home country. What do you
correct.
do when there's a
When there's a
conflict in your
war,
country?
yes,
Why would you go back?
yes, yeah. Ramsey, you're stuttering. Okay, guys, we have some technical issues here. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna text Remzi and make sure that he can join us again.
Can, can you see me?
Okay, I can see you again now. Yep, it's working now. Yeah. So
Okay. Yeah. Oh,
yeah, that's okay.
so I don't know what happened. So in these situations where it's hard to get a tourist visa, it might be better to get another visa such as J1, because don't forget J1 has a 2-year foreign residency requirement for the medical graduate. We just spoke about it. So that gives the consular officer an extra comfort that you will have to come back to your home country, right? So in that situation, for example, it would be advisable to apply for a J1 maybe instead of a B2.
Got it.
Now, would it be better if you applied at a different country? It might be, because they may think that there's a conflict in your own country and you were not able to apply for it over there because of the waiting times. There is, for example, regular when there's a conflict in some countries, regular conflict, the U.S. government assign different consulates for those
Countries.
countries' nationals. So you can apply in those countries. I'm not saying that it's easy to get a visa, but you can try your best. I mean, show something that indicates that you will go back,
Got it.
that you have ties. And traveling to other countries and coming back to your home country is a very good way of showing that before you apply for a tourist visa or a J1 visa.
Got it. Okay. I think we talked about the EB2, so we're not gonna discuss about this. We're just gonna jump to live Q&A. We're 6 minutes over, so I'm gonna highlight some of these questions here that already submitted by some people. I think we have this question here.
Julius, you may have passed one of the questions. There was a question about NIW.
Yeah. I'm gonna
and
pass
J1
that.
at
Will you explain a little bit about the
Oh,
EB2? And we're kind of
okay.
6 minutes over, half an
Okay.
hour here. So we're gonna move on to these live Q&A. So Dr. Arshaya Kirti, we go for observership like Dr. Hayat is offering. What are our chances to get the B1, B2 visa? I think you already explained a little bit. Strong ties, right? Except if you have anything to add. I mean, we talked about it. So we're gonna move on to the next one.
I think,
Mhm.
sometimes if you have,
Mhm.
if you're specifically going for an observership, then you apply for B1, B2 with that specific reason.
Right.
If you have other reasons to come to the US, such as visiting the US, and you can show that you have strong ties with the US, I'm sorry, with your home country, and you have traveled to many European countries, you have a Schengen visa already. So if you have all of those things, maybe B1, B2 application is not I mean, the observation is not the reason for the B1, B2 application. So you can just say, I want to be a tourist there, I want to visit this and that, and then you come back to your own country, and then you go for observership in another trip. So it depends on what you want to do in the United States. You don't have to bring up observership all the time
I see.
if there are other reasons for you to travel to the US.
Got it. Okay. This is I used Jane. Hi, I applied for B1, B2 on the basis of observership, but got rejected. Applied again after a month, got rejected again. Then I waited for 1 year and applied again. I'm not sure. I think the question is how to not get rejected.
Yes. This is exactly what I was saying
Yeah.
before this question was asked. So if you have other reasons to travel to the US, more approvable, more acceptable reasons to apply for a tourist visa, such as a touristic trip, then maybe it's better you apply that way rather than setting forth the reason for applying for a tourist visa as observership,
I
because like I
see.
said, it's not a very well-known area. Yes, we've gotten extensions within the US with the observership program, but the consulates may not know about it, may reject it, may not understand your reasons for applying for this. They are receiving thousands of applications every week. So it would be hard to distinguish between them. So if you have other reasons to apply for a tourist visa, I think go with that.
Got it. Okay. If my B1, B2 rejected previously, will it affect the J1 visa application?
Oh, that's a very good question. Yeah.
Yeah.
Both visas have a requirement called 214B. That the 214B is a section in the immigration law which says you have to show your ties to your home country. So both of them have that, right? So B1, B2, I think that's the visa that has the most 214B effect because you have to show that you're going to go back to your home country.
Yeah.
J1 has the same thing, but it is a little different. First of all, there's an institution who would like to work with you.
Yeah.
Secondly, if there's a 2-year foreign residency requirement, the likelihood that the council is going to issue you the visa increases because they think that you're going to go back to your home country. So yes, 214B applies to for both B and J, but B is a little higher standard. Now, if the B is rejected, can you still get the J? I think you still have a chance. Yes. If you ask me otherwise, if my J got rejected, can I still get a B? The chances are lower
Super low.
unless
Yeah.
unless you can show a real reason why you need to travel to the US. I advise international travel before applying for a B1, B2 visa all the time,
I
right?
see.
You need to travel a lot and then go to the US and then go to the US consulate and ask for a US visa. If you've never traveled outside of your country and the first country you're going to travel is the US, you better have good ties to your home country.
Got it. Okay. A myth I came across using step 3 as the reason that visa assumes IMG wants an H1B visa. So this is what we talked about just now, USMLE step 3 versus the clinical rotation. Which one is better? I guess you kind of already answered it. You mentioned about the USMLE would
But
probably be the more familiar one. He just worry about the fact that I mentioned if somebody go for USMLE, the officer will assume that you're gonna stay in the US actually because that's what USMLE is for. So that's what they worry about.
they may, and it's always good to have a visa in your passport before you get into the first step, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
So I always advise my clients to have a visa in their passport, uh, and sometimes you apply for the visa at the exact last minute, you know, just before the deadline or something. Those situations are always very stressful. So if it's something that you can do, you get it earlier, you do a few trips, and then you start doing the steps. That would be easier because if you can't get the visa, then kind of your whole plan is ruined. But I don't know if consular officers assume
mm,
that you're going to apply for an H1 visa
mm,
if you pass step 3, but I agree that applying for a tourist visa at the last step or before the last step kind of puts the consular officer in a awkward situation where you know, a supervisor may ask, why did you give this guy the visa? Because he applied for a visa. It was obvious that he was going to apply for H1. What do you think? He's taking the third step of the
yeah, right,
USMLE.
right.
So always applies earlier is my advice.
Mm, yeah. And then this Jai Nakda here is the person that I actually invite personally. You should come here because he has faced 3 US visa rejection V1, V2 from observership. Despite fulfilling all requirements, my application were denied without clear reasoning. This is quite difficult. In my opinion, I mean, I think he probably need to contact with you and consult with you directly because we're not actually sure what kind of requirements that you have fulfilled that right. I mean, if except
Yeah,
you have any.
it's not just about the observership. I mean, you may have that reason, but they may not be seeing you qualified otherwise for the tourist visa.
Yeah,
So that might be one of the reasons. And the other reason might be that they don't think that the observation is going to be staying at observation. Maybe it's going to be amounting to a gainful employment in the United States. That might be a reason too.
I see. Yeah. Okay. I think the same answer like you gave before. Does booking to and from tickets and hotels we stay during observership in advance increase the chance of approval? Interesting.
I would say yes. It doesn't make or break a case, but if the consular officer has an issue with how you're going to support yourself, where you're going to stay, and whether you're going to go back to your home country afterwards, so it may convince them. But they're gonna ask these questions in detail if they want to give you the visa. If they don't want to give you the visa, these things don't usually come up. It's so much detail.
Yeah.
This is too much detail. But if they are a little bit not convinced and they want to give you the visa, they start asking additional questions.
I'm Indian. How much will it take for me to get the NIW?
Oh boy,
Long.
that's unfortunately, I'm looking at Visa Bulletin right now. Unfortunately, there's country limitations in all
Right.
employment-based programs.
Right.
And since there's a lot of applications from some countries, they cannot get past the country limitations. For example, on the um, final action dates for employment-based visas, the second category for India, they're looking at cases filed in December 2012. So it's a 13-year wait, which is a huge amount of wait for India. On the EB1 program, they're looking at cases filed in May of 2023. I think if I'm looking at this right. Yes.
That's right.
So
Yeah. Basically, it's a
it,
very
it's
long time. It's
it is
long time.
unfortunate, but let's say if you're on an H1 visa, no matter how long your green card takes, you can always extend the H1B
Correct.
as long as you file the green card application before the end of your 5th year on the H1B. That's what most people do.
Okay. And then just very quick, make sure I'm correct here. If you marry U.S. citizen, it's not limited by country.
US citizen is straight green card. There's no immediate, because it's immediate relative, so there is no visa categories.
Right.
Immediate relatives get the green card immediately.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So
Yes.
that's what I thought. That's one way to make it faster. If you're India, you want to marry an American.
Well, you want to make sure it's a real marriage, is
I know.
what I have
I'm
to
just,
say.
I'm just, I know. What are documents we can especially provide to prove strong ties? Well, that's very interesting. This is a good question. I want to prove strong ties to my country. What are documents that the embassy will think?
Most
Okay.
most people think that these are documents, and interestingly, they're not.
Oh,
Strong ties. No, it's not. It's your DS-160 form. It's how you present yourself. It's your passport. For example, if I traveled to 10 different countries in the last 10 years, I always came back, and some of these countries were very good countries, touristic wise, living wise. I went to Paris, London, and then I went to a few other countries that require a visa. I stayed for about a couple of weeks. I came back, or I studied in one of them, and then I came back. Now, this is more important than any other document to show the consulate officer that you're gonna come back to your own country one day, because you went there, you didn't stay, you came back, right?
okay.
For example, you have a job that pays a very good amount of money. Let's say you are married, you have 2 children. Let's say you have a single mom that you need to take care of. Let's say you have sisters, brothers, and you have a business you own together. So these are all indications that you have ties with your own country and you can come back. But sometimes they ask for documents, rarely they ask for documents. And when they ask for documents, they usually want to confirm something. For example, you said that you are working
Yeah.
and you're making this amount of money under the S-160 form. Can I
Yeah.
see your payroll? They rarely want to see any deeds of properties, any bank statements, because once they look at you, within 10 seconds to 2 minutes, they usually understand who you are. They're trained for that, They can understand whether you're making good money, whether you have ties to your own country. So it's rarely the documents. It's mostly what you've done before the interview to get prepared for the interview, and how you present yourself, how you dress, how you talk, how you can explain yourself. That's the key.
I see. So even the documents that say I've been working in the job, maybe the job or company that you're working with, in this case maybe a hospital of some sort, they'll provide a letter that he's gonna come back. Will that actually really help? I
But
mean,
it helps because
it
if you're
helps.
working for 12 years at the company, according to the S-160 form that you've submitted, they may want to see a proof of that because
Okay.
it's a very important indicator of you going back and you have ties to your own country. So in that specific instance, they may, but usually they don't look at documents.
Okay. Got it. The next question is, can I will gonna just keep going on answering questions. I'm sorry for everybody. We probably will not be able to answer, all the questions once we get to 8 a.m. I'm gonna go through. We'll make it as short and brief as possible. We're just gonna brush through it. Okay. Can I apply for visa extension less than 45 days before the end date in the I-94 stamp?
Always, yes.
Okay.
We apply. I'm not advising this, but we apply at the last day a lot.
Oh, okay. All right. Cool.
The reason for that is people want to stay as long as possible, or they came to us very late. So you can apply as late as possible, but don't do it because if there's something that goes wrong and your file comes
Yeah.
back,
Then
you will have an expired I-94, which you don't want.
yeah. Next one, do we need to have a return ticket when we come to the US?
When you come to the US, the officer at the port of entry may ask you a lot of questions. One of them might be how long you're going to stay, what's the purpose of your visit, and when are you going back? And one of the things that they ask the most is the return ticket because it's the indication that you have some business in your own country and you're going to go back.
Right.
Think of it as in a scenario where you come to the US and you don't have a return ticket. I mean, if you really have strong ties with your home country, you probably should have a return ticket, right? Otherwise,
Right.
you have you can freely roam in the United States, and that's usually what they don't want.
Yeah.
So yeah, return ticket helps a lot.
Yeah.
That's a regular advice. Have a return ticket.
And then here you answer it already. So I'm gonna skip this because the answer is yes. You need to have tourist visa from high income countries will increase. So I'm
Absolutely.
gonna skip that one. I'm currently undergoing a residency in my home country. Have more than enough fine. Still, my visa. I'm not really sure the
I understand
grammatical
what
question.
he's
Oh,
saying. He
you
is going
understand it?
in,
Very good.
yes, he's going, he's at a residency program in his home country. And why am I still being refused by the US government? It is because it's not just one specific factor. They look at the overall circumstances, the big picture, your age, your marital status, your economic situation, the countries you have visited, the ties to your home country. For example, it could be a residency in your home country, but it's just a residency. It's not a real job that you have accepted, right? But once you finish with your residency, you're going to accept other positions. So it's not like you've been employed at this prestigious place for such a number of years. So look at it that way. It's never one specific factor that gives you or gets you the visa denied. It's the overall circumstances, the big picture.
Got it. Can B1 rejection affect other country visa approval?
Interesting. I would say maybe Canada, because Canada and US share databases all the time. It's very interesting. If you got denied in the US, Canada usually knows about it, and it's the
Yeah.
same thing with Canada.
Yeah.
So it's one country that I've seen really affects this is Canada and US. Other countries, if they know about it, if they ask about it, and if they realize that you got rejected, for example, um, from a Schengen country, you may not be
Yeah.
able to get the B1. I haven't known otherwise. Like if your B1, B2 gets rejected, can you get a Schengen visa? I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah.
I don't do Europe visas, so.
Right. Makes sense. I have an immigration case which is evaluating to the US, but I want to do electives in 2025. What specific path for me to apply with the immigration case affect my other? I'm not really sure what he meant about. I assume it's she. No, it's Anna's. Never mind.
Well,
Immigration
it
case.
doesn't. It's not clear when she says. I think she
Yeah,
says
it's a she.
what immigration cases. So.
Yeah.
Is it a green card application? Through what? Through whom? Is it a non-immigrant visa application? We need more
Yeah. Please, we
clarification.
will
By
not
the way,
be able
Yulis,
to.
what I can do is if people can ask their questions in the comments section on
Yeah.
on your YouTube channel, I
Yeah.
will try to go and respond to them as well after the
Okay. After the
broadcast. So that would be
sure.
maybe something that they would like.
That's nice. That's nice. Okay. I'm yet to receive my medical school degree in a couple of days, which I mentioned in DS 160. By the time of my visa interview, I will be receiving it. Should I be employed in these few months? I also not
I
sure
see.
about the
I see what
question.
the question is.
Oh, you understand it again. All right.
Yes.
Very good. Okay.
So basically, the question is, when I go to the interview, I will be, I will have the medical graduate degree. I would have been graduated, but I will be unemployed since it's been just a few months. Should I be employed when I go to the interview? Uh, this specific scenario, for example, the officer is thinking that this is a potential immigrant to the United States. Just finished the school, doesn't have a job, and applying for a tourist visa, right? So think of it. You don't have any. It doesn't look like you have a lot of ties to your home country. You finished your school, for example. So would it be better if you had a job? I would think yes, because then they would see that you finished schools and you had plans to stay in your home country. You had a job and you're applying for a tourist visa. Although it's still weird that you want to go to US right after finishing your school.
Sure.
But if you can explain that
Right.
that's a temporary visit and you have a good job
Okay.
in your home country, then you increase your chances.
That
Yes.
means the other is true. For example, if I do my visa interview while I'm still in medical school, would that will actually increase the chance?
Absolutely
Okay.
increases your chances, yes.
Okay.
Because you're gonna go back to your home to school. That doesn't mean that they're
Yes.
gonna give you the visa. It's
Okay.
just because they may
Flexible.
think that you're gonna go and never come back and forget about school. Especially if you're a bad student, think about it, right?
It's true.
If your grades are not good and you don't care about the school, then that's not a good thing.
True. Okay. What if my home country is currently in war? I have yearly renewed residency in another country and enrolled in an internship. Will that help improving the return for B1 visa?
This is always difficult. When there's an internal conflict in a
Yeah.
country, and you're living somewhere else temporarily, it's usually not good for the B1, B2 visa. This is not because the US doesn't care about your situation, but it's the way the visa applications and regulations are written. You are a potential immigrant, and they have to um, evaluate you in that way, and you have to be proving to them that you're not going to be immigrating to the United States. This is a very difficult situation. But if you have already established some residence in the other country, then your chances, I think, is increasing because you can show that you're not gonna return to your home country, but you can return to the other country, which in this case is Saudi Arabia, and there's a good likelihood that you will come back. Then that increases your chances to get a tourist visa. Yes.
I see. So you don't have to say I come back to my home country, but I can say I can come back to the country that I'm residing in right now.
In this specific situation, yes, because it is what it is. I mean, you have to be. I think most of the problems arise because we cannot communicate ourselves in a good way to the consular officer. If
Yeah.
we can communicate our situation, then the chances of getting approval increases.
Mhm. Does by default number of days to stay in US B1 beta visa is 6 months on I-94, or will it be shorter based on return date?
This is one of my favorite questions and one of the
Okay.
best wrong known answers. So the answer is no. Typically, the most that they can give you at the port of entry is 180 days.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean they're allowing you to stay 180 days. That means that if something goes wrong and if you have to stay longer, you don't have to deal with immigration and you can stay up to 180 days. But if you stay 180 days all the time, I think in the second or the third entry, people are still start gonna ask you questions. Well, what's going on, Julius? You keep spending a lot of time in the United States. You don't have a job in your home country. And the favorite question that I have that people ask me is, I've stayed in the US for 5 months. Okay, I'll go back to my home country. How fast I can come back? How soon I can come back? And I'm
Yeah.
like,
Common question.
you are using the tourist visa to go to your home country as a tourist. whereas the tourist visa is for you to visit the US as a tourist.
Yes.
So that's a problem, right? So nobody's going to ask you any questions when you're leaving the US, but when you're entering the US the second time or the third time, they will start asking you questions. So my recommendation, stay as little as you can. Anything get past 2 months, in my opinion, my observation, is considered a long stay. They will think that you don't have a job in your home country. They will start thinking maybe you work in the United States. So anything get past 2 months in the US is a reason for you to explain yourself while you're going back to US for the second or the third time. Stay a little, go back, come back again. If you stay for a shorter period of time, usually it's not a problem. But there's no requirement that in one calendar year you cannot stay more than 6 months. You can.
Okay. All right. Well, very quick follow-up questions for that one. Does that mean if I do a long stay like 6 months, but then I stay in the home country for a whole year, then it would be then it's not gonna be seen as
6 months is always a long time, Ulis.
long. Yeah, long
You need
time.
to. It's a very long time. So
Oh,
you
it's you have to
cannot be
explain.
possibly working in your home country and staying in the US for 6 months unless your company sent you over to the US to deal with an issue, right? So it's hard to explain anything beyond 4 or 5 months stay in the US. You should be able to explain yourself. You have to have the documentation while you're re-entering the US as to what you did in your previous state. That's how people get caught. They don't realize that they can be questioned in their next entry into the United States. Have your papers ready,
Okay.
and be ready to explain yourself.
Okay. Very good. Where we are at 8 a.m. So I guess we're done here because Mr. Kulen is going for another meeting after this. So you can check his YouTube channel. There will be an English YouTube channel. We'll cover a lot of these topics as well. And then and he will try to answer the questions afterward in the live chat if you put something. So,
Yeah, let me plug in the YouTube
Sure.
handle. It's Kulen Immigration Law.
Mhm.
So if you search us Kulen Immigration Law, you will see that this channel opened a week ago. There's a couple of videos there,
Okay.
but I've been doing this for a long time
Right.
on
The
a
other.
different language. So
Yeah.
I'll be adding a lot of videos here, informational videos about all the immigration visa types, and also follow us on Instagram with my name, Remzi Kulen. I have the ENG, the extension ENG is the English one. So you can follow me up from there for latest updates. And thank you, Yulis, for this
Well,
opportunity.
no, thank you so much for being here. Really helpful and amazing session. So hopefully a lot of people get value from this. All right. So very
Hopefully.
good. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
I wish the best of luck to all of your followers and to you, and I hope to see you in another program, maybe, right?
Yes, yes, yes. We'll be in
Okay.
touch. Okay. Bye
All
now.
right.
Take care.
Take care.
Have a good
Bye.
rest of your day. Bye.
Bye.
So that's it, everyone. We're done here. And yes, yes, we're all done. And because this is on YouTube, I put it in public. Everybody can watch. And Mr. Kulen will, get in touch with you with the if you post any question in the chat, he will try to answer those. And don't forget that I have those 3 things. I'm gonna come back here very, very quickly. Over here, I have the USMLE test taking strategies. So if you're going for USMLE, you can learn the test taking strategy. I've been tutoring USMLE for many years, thousands of hours, and I put this into this one free online course. It helps you with the general approach question 50-50, right, and the time management. USCE Essentials give you the 30 plus hospital list for IMG, and then everything about the USCE. And then finally, if you're interested to do rotation with me, there's a link down description below where you can click and you can watch the video and then learn how you can do the rotations with me. All right, very good. Bye, everyone.